The council has assembled. They are eager to hear your report.
Greetings, everybody. We begin tonight's meeting of the council by calling the council to order. Hello to everyone, and thank you for joining us. The council is a live Twitch talk show and podcast discussing Star Wars: The Old Republic. I am Sakari. With me are my fellow council members, Elise.
Greetings.
And Redna.
Hey.
And Magic Ace, who, of course, is not with us tonight, hence why she's in hollow format.
Yeah. So this week we're going to be talking about the new player experience versus a veterans player experience. And then after what?
Yes, and after the live broadcast, you can find our recorded episodes everywhere podcasts are found and on our YouTube channel. Just click the panel below or visit our website at thecouncilswotor.com. Check out our social media and don't forget to follow on Twitch. You can find our Facebook page at facebook.com/thecouncilswotor. That's SWTOR when I say SWTOR, by the way. And our Twitter at thecouncilswtor. You can also find our Patreon page at patreon.com/thecouncilswotor.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Edna. Okay, from there we go into the icebreaker segment, which is where we get the discussion going. Icebreaker question is, for this week, what is your favorite aspect of SWTOR lately? Do you have anything to say, Elise?
I got called on first. I don't know. I've been playing PvP lately. That's been a lot of fun. And of course, WoG. So I'm going to say that. PvP has been a lot of fun.
Right. And WoG is what's an ops group, and it's basically Unholy Alliances. Fun, free-for-all, drink a lot, and basically take way too long to complete an ops Friday night activity. Right?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like bowling.
Yeah,
it's like Friday night bowling.
Friday night bowling, yes, very much so.
Right? So you
just throw the balls and hope something happens in the right direction.
Right.
Most of it's gutter balls, but that's all right.
Right, exactly.
Redna, what about you,
sir? It gets trashed and it's a good day.
Like about the game? I mean, what's to like about the game? I heard it was dead, so I stopped playing. But I have been doing Uprising achievements. That's about it.
Uprising achievements, my word.
I finished all of the story mode ones.
That's right. He said he wasn't going to do them or that he didn't like them, right? Right?
Yeah, they're really mind-numbing and dull. But I am plodding through. I need to get those achievements done. I was told that I was missing out by not giving them a chance. And so I'm giving them a chance, and I wasn't missing out. But I'm still, a completionist. So
don't you hate that curse? Completionism is always problematic because you have to come back and clean up after yourself after you've done all this stuff. So I hear it.
That's what she said.
Yes, indeed. Somebody's got to say it, right? I guess my favorite aspect of the game lately has probably got to be gearing. I didn't think I'd be this way, but actually I'm having a lot of fun, like finding that piece that I need and then like switching out the mods. At least your face is concerning me. You have a look of horror upon your face, but I'm actually having a really good time. Like, hey, RNG will hook me up with a piece, and then I get a drop with a piece and in WoG or something, and I've actually been having a lot of fun switching out my mods and getting stuff upgraded. So. But I didn't think I would answer that way. But now that I get to the question and actually think it through, that's really what my answer is. So,
so you feel good gearing out.
Gearing out. I've actually been having some fun doing that, and I didn't think I'd ever be that way. So, not under this system.
I understand you people. Just saying.
Yeah, indeed.
Listen, I'm just going to put it out there. It's a slight brief tangent because it's not our topic of the day. But in my opinion, they should have launched CXP without changing anything else to do with the gear. Like, left the gear alone, but launched CXP as an opportunity for the casual player to actually earn something over time. It would have been brilliant that way, rather than
like a supplementary instead of the primary way to get gear. Because
Yes.
what they did was they had to factor everything else back in and then make it the supplementary because nobody really liked it that much. But it's actually really cool to have along for the ride, I think.
Yeah.
I was going to say that's where we're at now.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just
the
about.
old way and CXP.
The PvP gearing is still a significant issue, but yeah, otherwise we're pretty much there.
I agree. Yeah, and you can buy set piece gear if you want to, if you save up those comms and don't use them for
Right, or the
boosts
PvP.
or
You're
something
talking about
else.
the what are they? Unassemblable components.
Oh god, yeah.
I keep
Well,
forgetting what
yeah,
those are.
Right, so that's what you use to buy the set gear at the little vendor on Fleet or whatever, right? You can
Yes.
get like 240 set gear or something like that.
Mhm.
Reportedly, but have you ever used it? I've never used that currency.
No, because I
I save
did-
it up because I want to use it to like pick up the piece or two that I'm missing after I get to the end of a tier.
Me too, and I never have.
I
But
have
that is
to
what I'm
buy
doing.
I have to buy those blue. I always buy those blue boost thingies for WoG.
Oh, the
So-
CXP boosters or whatever.
Mhm. So I end up never getting to the 300 because I end up spending them on those.
Yeah, on the boosters. So you're basically pushing
Yeah.
through the CXP levels.
Correct.
Yeah. Do you enjoy it though, or are you just having to do it because that's what's done? Because it's supposed to be
You
fun,
mean with the
right? That's the
CXP?
idea. Yeah.
I have never liked CXP, so I can't say anything about it really as fun. I mean,
But
I
I mean,
enjoy
CXP 's been
opening the
around.
boxes. I mean, yeah, but not bad enough to go out and like do heroics, which I think are worse than uprisings. So I'd rather do an uprising, frankly, if I had to choose, than heroics. But that's
Well, no, but realistically, CXP's been in the game nearly as long as you have.
no, it's not. Thank you.
Really? Maybe that would be answered in our question of the week. What was that again?
Hey, I came in before 4.0, but I'm jumping the gun. So, shall we move on to the poll?
That's a great
time.
idea. Okay, so let me. Lady Danny isn't with us for a moment. Let me make sure that I am able to actually do her job here.
Ken Zakari, execute on.
I think I've done it,
All right.
people.
Say, look
All
at
right.
that. Mad
All right.
props.
We ready?
Finger pyramid of evil. Yes, indeed. All right,
Okay,
so
so
go for it.
oh, go ahead. Am I done?
You are doing
right.
it.
So the question of the week for this week was how long? What? How long have you been playing SWTOR? So I'm going to go over these years, but if chat can see the graphic, right?
Well, how about I
So-
put the graphic on screen?
Why don't you put
Is
the
that,
graphic? on
isn't that a great idea? Okay, there it is.
All right. So I'm going to invite chat to go ahead and vote along with us. Tell us how long you guys have been playing SWTOR. And you have a choice of 6 years, 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, or 1 year. And I was like, 6 years? We just had our 5-year anniversary. But I think Redna said that if you include, the alpha?
Yeah, the beta and the alpha, depending on when you came in before the game officially launched, you could be playing this game for as much as 6 years.
There you go. So vote accordingly. Chat.
I believe, what was it? We figured out it was like December 11th that the game launched.
So I remember. Okay, so I back in the day, I was wanting to be in the beta and all that kind of thing, but my computer wasn't good enough. So the only thing I got into was the big old stress test. I don't know if you remember this, Redna. They did a big stress test on
Like just 2 weeks before launch, right?
Yeah, it was on the 11th of November, 2011.
Oh, a month.
It was 11, 11,
That was a
11. I
month.
remember was the date. So I remember to the day, the very first day, I got to actually jump into any kind of SWTOR and play because the date was so easy. Back in my day, which I guess we're going to get to here in a few.
Mine was a little before that, but not too long. I'm like right on the cusp at that six-year mark right now, because I know I did get in before the stress test. I think I was like maybe the second to last beta group that was let in or something like that. But I definitely wasn't involved in alpha. I wish I had been, but you know what? That's the thing is I'm that sorry sap that never played Star Wars Galaxies. Because I burnt out on World of Warcraft and MMOs generally and didn't follow the scene enough to even know that it had launched. So I just stopped playing MMOs until this one came along.
Larry Everett is showing off in chat saying he's been playing almost 7 years. So, what option does he pick?
Wow, Larry. He needs to pick 6 years. That's all you got, man.
Okay, so December 11th was when the early access was, and he is correct that December 20th was the official launch date.
Yes.
And I am a console player who has just recently started playing on PC, so I didn't know nothing about that MMO stuff was for you computer people.
Really? I didn't realize.
Didn't do that stuff.
So was SWTOR your transition into PC gaming?
No, actually, Dragon Age Inquisition was my transition into.
Oh.
So how did you get suckered into SWTOR then, of all places to go?
So, I decided I was going to play Inquisition on PC and not console. And I had made this whole idea that I was going to build this computer and everybody could use it, and I was just going to play on it, on the side. Yeah, no.
Innocently.
This is my computer that I play video games on, and everybody else can use it a little bit. Anyway, so I met up with a friend in the game, and we started playing, and he, innocently was like, hey, you should try this game. And he kept saying, Star Wars The Old Republic. And I go, oh, I love KOTOR. And he was like, it's not KOTOR. And I was like, but you keep saying The Old Republic, and that's no. So that's how I got into it.
But you were thinking KOTOR, but the Old Republic is actually, in a sense, KOTOR 3. It is the continuation of the story after the second installment of the Knights of the Old Republic games.
Yeah.
So.
And I did not play KOTOR on PC either. I played it on my trusty Xbox, which I still have.
The Xbox, the first Xbox.
The first Xbox.
Yes, I have it there too. That's where I played it as well.
One could even argue, had you not played before KOTET and you came in and got your little character token, that KOTOR 3 starts with KOTET and you are still playing Revan because you have no knowledge of the death of Revan or anything if you were to come in at that stage. Spoiler, by the way.
Yes, I suppose that's true. Or you mean Shadow Revan? Right?
No, because you would have started after Shadow Revan, right? Yeah, so...
No, yes, I started a year after Shadow Revan came out.
Yeah,
it's
I'm saying...
2015, somewhere in there, right before 4.0.
If you were one of the people that started post-Kotfi and just played the new character content, which is a single story, you're not dealing with factions... It's very much a successor to the storytelling style of KOTET, even with the dialogue callbacks without voice acting and stuff like that.
Yep,
yeah, you could very much pretend you're Revan, and it would be just fine.
Right.
Revan
in this forced partnership with some potentially dead ruler that you really don't need to know too much about, because if you do find out, it just gets you confused anyway. Leading towards Revan's ultimate destination anyway. Light or dark side.
Rulership of the entire galaxy.
Yeah.
All right, are we ready? Everybody done voting? Last call?
I just say let's put the results in chat. Are we okay with that?
Yep.
I think everybody's done. Lady Danny's going to be so proud of me. Look at me go. All right, so the results are now being sent to chat. And it looks like our results may look a little bit familiar to us.
Yeah. It's pretty almost exactly how the choices were presented, except for 1 year and 2 years are flipped. But that's it. The majority of the people that voted, 46% or 817 votes. I'm still just amazed at the participation. I really appreciate that from everybody. I really love to see people putting their 2 cents in for us to chit-chat about.
Okay, so I'm going to put the results on screen now. You ready?
Yep.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, I thought you had already done that.
Okay, they're up now.
Okay, so these are our official results, right? Or are we talking about the...
Yes, these are the official results, and I figured that we could compare them to the poll results in chat while we're at it.
Yes. 46%, 6 years or 817 votes. 16%, 5 years 15% 4 years, so there's pretty close there, 4 and 5 years. A lot of people seem like they came in at that time. 3 years is 9%, 1 year is 8%, and 2 years is 6%. I'm kind of in between 2 and 3.
Yeah, so basically it was exactly like they were represented, as you said, but just right there on the bottom, 1 year and 2 years are flipped.
Mm-hmm.
This is fascinating to me.
How about the chat results?
I expected more. Like,
or what?
Just like more recent, like a larger bulk of more recent, but it seems like retention has been remarkable. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you could almost go backwards on this, and this is just I mean, it's like it's still growing. There is that, but it's mostly at saturation for those that are interested that are going to be there. Even despite all of this, the boo-hooers talking about, oh, there's no more operations and you haven't done anything with PvP and you haven't done jack except this story recently. I'm one of those boo-hooers. And yet, most people haven't left anyway.
Mm-hmm. There's a large number of votes, though. If you were to add up the 3, 2, and 1 year folks, I mean, that's still a nice chunk of people. It's not nearly as many as 6 years, even all those 3 combined, But
okay, so I have a theory about this data. Can I present it to you guys and see what you guys think about it?
Yeah, real quick though, before you do that,
Okay.
did the chat votes kind of mirror what we're seeing here too?
Yes, we're heavy on the 6 years. 5 years is next, and it kind of tapers off from there. We have 1 for 3 years and 1 for 1 year.
Okay.
So yeah, for the most part, I think it mirrors. For the most part, for me, what I see is this, right? And I'm keenly interested to know what you think about my theory here. You mentioned retention. I think retention's definitely been the name of the game on this. That the majority of people are definitely way towards 6 and 5 years, and they've been with us all along. What I think is happening here is that the people that are on the forums and the people that are, it's kind of like the 1%ers, right? Or the 5% of people that are so heavily invested in the game are hitting the forums, they're hitting Reddit, and that's where we posted these polls.
Yes,
like, okay,
this is very much a representation of who is in participating in our poll.
Okay, and that was the idea, right? That was what you wanted to do in crafting this poll, was get an idea as to who is answering our polls.
Yes.
Okay, so
and quite frankly, more than likely, it's quite well. And as we even saw in our live chat room, it's fairly representative of our viewership slash listenership, our audience.
Yes. So okay? So my observation about this is that all of the people that are on Reddit, that are on the forums, that are on Twitter, the most invested people, are the people that have been with us all along. And I don't think that there has been much of a conversion, quote unquote, of new people that have joined SWTOR over 4.0, 5.0, or all of the latest stuff that have been transitioned into that core group of diehards that are the ones talking about it every day on Reddit. Do you think that there's been a failure in that?
Well, so then I guess that's the real question is, are they catering to, they're the only ones with the analytics of what their number bases are and what their actual retention is versus player growth. And as well, new sign-ons and retention. But so there's 2 ways you can analyze it, which is that one, you just have, the diehards that are invested are the ones that have been here since the beginning because they've been invested in diehards. And then there has been a fairly good enough amount of growth from year to year, almost consistent. I mean, you've got nearly 50% came in at the beginning that are in on this voting, and then it's 6 to 16% every year in our participant. Now the flip side is, to your point, it could be indicative that in fact the content, as the years have gone by, has not lent itself to a need, particularly in the last 2 years where we have the least investment in our polling. It doesn't lend itself towards a need to get online, look up resources, figure out how to defeat things, be invested in digging around to find out more stuff. Or that maybe the recent content's been so easy and straightforward that there's no reason to go on looking for extra information.
But you don't think there's something sad, maybe, about people that don't feel the need to become a part of the fan community?
But remember, if you do that whole 5, 20, and 80, the 80% are generally the silent majority. They don't need
Elise,
to do all that. So,
would you like to explain what that is real quick for our viewers that may be not familiar with that?
There was a post by a game developer that has a site on Tumblr. I think that's right? You would call it?
I think it's Tumblr.
A blog? A blog.
It's a blog
microblog.
post. Yeah.
And he talks about, he's been a developer for a very long time and talks about some of the behind the scene things. And somebody asked about, he was asked a question, she, we don't know, was asked a question about the player base and responding to polls and just, why doesn't anybody pay attention to all the fan base? And he basically said that in general, the player base breaks down in 80, 20, and 5. 80% of the consumers of the product just play the game and they don't do anything else. They don't get on forums and they don't look up things online and they don't do that. And then of the remaining 20, 5% actually get on the forums or whatnot and post. And then the remainder of that...
I thought it was 20 get online and 5%
to look up
post.
Things. Right, 5% post, and the remaining 15 would maybe look up a guide or something like that, but they don't necessarily
They Google
post.
it every now and then, maybe or drop by the website and see what the latest information is.
Right.
And then it's much less than 1% that represent fools like ourselves that are actually creating content.
That make the shows that the people that Google actually find, right?
And I want some kind of new label. What's the opposite of elitist? Like scummiest or something, where we're reveling in the dirt here, creating content.
We're definitely not elite, that's for sure.
I mean, I don't know. I think maybe, again, from a newcomer's perspective, there's so much stuff out there. And so if you're not mad...
Right.
I mean, there's so many things for you just to be able to Google. You Google something, and I had a harder time figuring out what was more current and not old and telling me something wrong, especially when I started. Mm-hmm. So
like
maybe
the gearing
that's
guides
also...
on Delphi, goodness me.
Correct. I mean...
Those change very drastically.
Or YouTube. I can get on YouTube and put on SWTOR, and there's like 50 bazillion... things will pop up. I don't have to work too hard for it. And so maybe they don't ever really need to get on the forums and ask a question because they have everything they need because there's been so much of it out there. But, I mean, I don't know.
You want to know something really crazy that I came across the other day? Try and find a current guide on KP or EV hard mode.
Hard mode.
Yeah. There's no guide. Because even Dolphy's archived them and banished them aside. They don't come up on searches and stuff, and you can't find them on our own website.
Really?
Yes.
And that's
Wow.
entry-level rating almost. Even
Right.
hard modes are pretty entry-level these days.
Yeah, but still, I mean...
Veteran mode.
I mean,
Sorry, we have to
that's
get this terminology correct.
I know, I can't do that. It's still
Yeah,
Judge
hard.
Case
have
is
it.
pointing it out on us in chat.
Okay.
I just...
Which
for
is
me,
true. You get to remember Sakari because for me it's really easy. Nightmare is obviously harder than hard, and hard is obviously harder than story. Whereas veteran, master, and whatever, I don't even know what the third one is.
I still call them the old one. I don't know. I mean, I have my opinions on that. I think there needs to be a guide on those things because if we want people to raid, then you need to put the information out there because there are always going to be somebody who doesn't know.
Right.
But that's me.
So we had a discussion a couple of weeks ago about marketing, right? And I think generally our consensus as a council is that we felt like we really wanted to see more marketing. Although, yes, we understand if we don't see it because we're already the in-group and it may be targeting those that are still outsiders that don't play the game. So with those caveats in mind,
so there's a flip side too that needs to be remembered because it finally struck me because we had been discussing offline this whole 20, 10, 5 or whatever it is. There is a significant influence, and the reason that you need to combat the perception of the 5% that are so heavily invested is because they are the ones going onto general chat on Fleet and spamming crap.
right?
One way or the other. And so if you can influence that conversation even in the slightest, and rather than being a vile scum of villainy, it ends up just becoming,
You scum of
Harambe
villainy.
jokes.
Wait, so what
Yeah.
are the non-scum and villainy people spamming? Because I don't, other than like guild
recruitment.
things, that's all. And hey, come do my operation. I need another DPS. That's like all I see. So
I don't know,
besides
but
that,
I
are they
did see
spamming
I did
it?
see in my I have had general chat turned off for a long time, but I did have in my PvP chat the other day. I had a little bit of a good job, guys. That was so awesome. We were close. We'll do better next time. And my jaw dropped and hit the table, and I got a bruise. But like,
There's some
you know,
positivity. What?
yeah, it's positivity, and
Because newbies are afraid of PvP. Because PvPers are
Quite serious people. They're,
So-
they're
so
very
I
serious
think-
individuals.
That's what you
And I
see in the
think this
forum.
is the one thing that I totally understand, that the metrics and the data say these things, but it took me a long time to realize why what I thought was missing, and what it really is that there is still the 20 and the 10 and the 5% that are online, are having these discussions and everything. They talk to their friends, or they talk to their guild mates, or they talk to the other people in the game, and so there is a bleed over effect. I don't go to Reddit, but I am certain that the conversations that I have with my friends are influenced by conversations going on Reddit.
Yeah, there's a big
Okay.
economy of thought, I think, where ideas and get passed around. That's for sure. But more to my point a little bit earlier, though, Redna. We're talking about marketing and how marketing is out there to get people into this game. And here we are looking at how long have you been playing SWTOR, and we're light on the most recent content. People answering our poll, 1 and 2 years are the lightest groups. I wonder maybe if this is just an observation. We could throw it out there and move on. But maybe they've been so light on the marketing that maybe that's what accounts for it being so light in the more recent options. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Well, I'm somewhat biased. I mean, I think the marketing is a big deal. They did a lot of it at the beginning from what I got to see historically when I started. I started out as one of those 20%ers who was going online and Googling. So, because that's just how I do. But a whole lot of stuff at the beginning, and then that tapered off. But the other thing, too, that I saw a lot of that went away, and I don't know when that was, I'm sure you two would know better, is, and this is where my bias comes in, the whole guild support and that community building.
Mm-hmm.
Was devs supported went away, and I don't know how long after the start of the game that happened. But when
It actually died with the launch of the game. They let everybody immigrate into the guild together through that tool and everything, but then it was over. They did what they called the Guild Summit, which was freaking badass. It was very reminiscent of what like Blizzard has done. And they brought people on and they live streamed the event, and they had feedback, and they had little get-togethers with the devs and different groups and conversations. And me and all of my friends who had come back into this game after not playing any other MMO since WoW were like, oh my god, I'm saving my money for the plane ticket for the next one. And then they never did it again. But
Oh, dang it.
So
we
it was in
have done a lot of
person.
the-
I was thinking it was
Oh,
like
yeah.
BlizzCon, like on on screen, but no, it was in person.
this was in person.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
cool.
It was really awesome. But then they did the community cantinas, and quite frankly, I like the community cantinas nearly as much, if not better. But as we said before, I wish they'd kind of jackboot that back into being a regular occurrence, especially since they're not making appearances at the traditional video game conventions. But
I just feel like their budget is a little too low. I don't know if EA is like really keeping the ceiling down or something, but we're not seeing much and this is a total aside, I'm sorry to derail our conversation, but like we're not seeing much on the cantinas, we're not seeing much on the marketing, and I'm just going, wow, our where's the budget? Goodness me.
Right.
True
I
enough.
don't know.
And actually, what I wouldn't mind if they were actually to reinvest. Okay, so they do an E3 and they do a blur video every year. I would actually be okay with that if that was also in conjunction with going to Gamescom in Germany each year and going to PAX Australia.
Which they did do that, like my first year, though. They did go to Gamescom, I want to say, like my first year playing this game.
And they did that a few
Right?
times.
Yeah.
they
And they
that
did
with-
go to San Diego that year, too. I think.
Yes.
I went to San Diego that year.
It's been
And New
declining
York.
in frequency. Because originally it used to be like every single PAX they went to, half a dozen different
Really?
cons around the country, and then there was Germany that they did several times, and then everybody's always wanted to have them show up in Australia, which quite frankly I'd like to see them do an Australia trip once, just once. You know, it would be exciting. It would be like noteworthy. It would get a lot of the people just excited for them having, made the effort to do that. But I understand that if they haven't done it by now, it's probably even more challenging than going to Germany.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah.
okay, should we talk a little bit about what we're trying to do with this episode? And that is really basically do a timeline, kind of a think through the way that SWTOR the journey that SWTOR has done since inception, and kind of maybe starting from present and going back.
Well, I think more importantly, when you started the game, you had transitioned from console to the
we're talking
other
to me.
BioWare
This is me.
game.
Okay.
Yeah, at least the other BioWare game. And then what pulled you into this game, and what was present that kept you around until now?
Okay. That's actually a good question. So, like I said, started playing Dragon Age Inquisition multiplayer with a friend. Met a friend through that who was playing this game at the time too, and was huge in MMOs. He had played lots of them. Talked me into doing this. I started playing, and I came in when it was the 12 XP dealio.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
get 0 to 70 in 6 hours without even trying.
It's pretty awesome, actually, I gotta say, for somebody who actually hasn't ever played the game. I enjoyed marching through stuff for that. I think I started as free to play, and then I ended up subscribing during that weekend.
So it worked. That's very good.
Yeah, so it did what it is intended, which is to, dangle the carrot. And then what was that? What did I start with? Oh, healer, consular. Just not good.
Why?
A
lot of people, that's their favorite healer of anything.
Did you level
it
a
was
healer
great.
consular?
Yes. That's what I mean, right there.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, everybody's entitled to a little noob when they start.
So your companion was doing the work for you while you watched.
Well, it was just slow and boring and slow and boring. Yeah, it really, I'm sorry, SWTOR, if anybody's listening, that is my least favorite one. I've heard it's interesting if you go dark. I went uber light side, like disgustingly, pompously light side.
Pompously light
anyway,
side, that's awesome.
So, so fast forward a little bit, but my big problem is I'm really a social gamer. I know Larry, he's on, likes to talk about his Bartle score, and I have like 80% social. And everything is like, the remainder categories are like tiny. So I was not, the guild that I was in was my friend's guild, and his guild was pretty much a dead guild. So my time would have been shortened there because I finished the story and it was great and all, but I didn't really know how to do operations or flashpoints. I didn't even know what those things were. I didn't want to get into PvP because they were mean in there. And so, or at least that's what I thought. But I ended up, I was watching Larry's, he had like a stream that he would interview people, and it was Redna, Heather.
Oh, the Republic. Okay.
Yeah. I couldn't remember what it was called, but that was what it was called. Shout out Larry. And it was Heather when she was on Corellian Run, and Volk, and you guys were discussing various stuff, and Heather was talking about Theron and how.
Is that the
Theron...
one where we had some sort of competition and somebody was supposed to win at the end?
I don't think so. I don't remember there being anything like that. It was just you guys were talking about stuff, and Heather was waxing poetic about Theron and how, he had a thing for her Sith and. Blah, blah, blah. And through that, I ended up talking to Heather on Twitter, and she directed me to the guild that I'm in now. And if I hadn't been in my guild, I probably wouldn't have stayed. Because I'm just ultimately, I'm not an MMO player. So there's a lot of things about this game that I just kind of go, this would never happen in a single player game.
This is important to me though, because what you're saying is you came for the story, the BioWare story and all that stuff, right? But you stayed for the social content. People doing stuff together. I think that's important to highlight. The community. That's the whole point of an MMO, you know. So.
And if this weren't a BioWare game, I wouldn't even started playing in the first place. I'm going to be honest. Mm-hmm. So I probably would have stayed for like a hot minute and been like, oh, okay, yeah. Because I really don't play any others MMOs, and I haven't really been tempted. Well, let me put that back. Classic. I have no desire to play WoW. Haven't ever even been tempted. But I play a lot of modern MMOs, but that's kind of a different topic.
So modern is like Final Fantasy or WildStar or Destiny or ESO.
Destiny, ESO. Mm-hmm. Anthem sounds like it's going to be MMO-ish. Mm-hmm. Overwatch is a MOBA, but
MMO is shifted. It's not, the way that we think of MMOs. Like, I joined in Star Wars Galaxy's days. I mean, that's what framed my ideas of what an MMO should be. So, here's a little bit different, but I mean, it's essentially you zooming in on one character, you zooming out from that character. That character has its adventures. It's not like the quasi first person shooter that some of these other games are.
Right. So. And also, if it wasn't an RPG, I've tried others that aren't RPGs, and I can't really. They're really not my thing. So
I've been trying to push the RPG thing, particularly since playing this game, because playing this game now, just so that you know how I got into the game, which it was the beta. I wasn't in the alpha, but it was the beta. And my big thing was like I was pushing hard, like submitting and trying to get into the beta as soon as I found out about the game, because I saw very little bit online, which is something I think that BioWare needs to learn, is that actually revealing stuff and allowing your people to, their NDAs are too strict in my opinion, because if I hadn't been able to get into the beta, I would not have gotten into the game, because I had put it in my head, if what I see, what little bit I've seen, if it doesn't reflect the actual in-game gameplay, the graphics need to be good enough, was my thing, right?
And if it didn't, the same with you.
If it didn't match, I wasn't going to play. Flat out. I was not going to come into the game. But fortunately, I got into the beta, and it was. It was what I was looking for. It wasn't the blur video, but I knew better than to expect that.
Right.
The in-game footage, particularly with the cutscenes, was really appealing. And quite frankly, since the game has come out, one of the nice things that they've consistently been doing, they've never stopped, is the little graphics updates and improvements over time. Because my video card has been improving over time, and I get to keep it on Ultra the whole way through. And some of the things that you would think, like the luminosity or whatever, when they were talking about looking through the leaves, that actually made a huge difference. The way that the shadows are cast on the ground, and the reducing of the pixelation of different
SWTOR's
things.
graphics are phenomenal. I'd say that, and they keep adjusting, they keep improving over time. I mean, even if you compare, and I've seen where they've done this, where somebody's said, okay, hey, look, I've got some footage from right when this game started, and they're comparing it to now. Things have definitely been improved upon.
I mean, it's not Destiny, because that's photorealistic.
Right.
But no. I mean, it definitely to me is better than WoW. Just personal, not trying to slam anybody who likes WoW, but I prefer more photorealistic than cartoony, but that's just personal opinion.
Well, that's why I stayed away from WoW for the same reason. It was just WoW was too cartoony for me. Mm-hmm. This was animated enough but it was still realistic enough to where I was like, okay, that's something I can.
Well, and that's why I actually tried out WildStar and couldn't get into it, because I was like, oh, this is just retro wannabe World of Warcraft. Even though the game mechanics and everything were drastically and totally different, it just wasn't going to pull me in. But for me, that was my thing, was the graphics. That's how I got it. Then I started playing, and then I was like, wow, doing all these cutscenes. And I have always grouped for all my leveling. And I've got my best friend. A lot of you might know who he is. He goes by Jing or Ordo, and he's co-host on my other show. But we would go hand in hand and play a different base class every time we started a new character, and then go in with one another to the story stuff and be doing the planet stuff side by side, and just watch and experience all that story. And it's the first time. So the reason I mentioned it is because you had mentioned that you're just not into RPGs. I think I'm just discovering finally now, since I started this game 6 years ago, because I keep buying games and trying to get into them, and I can't get into them. I don't think I'm an RPG player either. Like,
No, I am only an RPG player.
Oh.
I don't like the other one.
see, I don't think I am. Like, quite
Interesting.
frankly, I'm
We have
more
diversity on the
interested in-
council.
Yeah, I'm more interested in challenge and gameplay, in game mechanics. That's why. So from my perspective as the old hand, the one thing that I really did appreciate all the way up until pre-coffee was every single expansion, throughout every single expansion, was increasing challenge or creativity in operations/raid gameplay design. Whoever's tapping should probably stop. But
I'm behaving.
but I do think that it's fascinating that the thing that I like the most, in my opinion, every single operation that came out was better than the previous. And I do understand that Ravtos was hands down for their hard modes, harder than most of the nightmare modes. And it was a little over the top. There should have been something in between. But nonetheless, Ravagers and Temple of Sacrifice.
Okay.
Those were a big step. Those were definitely a big step. I remember you would do EV, you would do KP, the story modes, then you would do the hard modes of that. And then once you were pretty strong at the hard modes of that, you were even enough to be able to jump into the story modes of, so yeah. I mean, there was like a stair, TFB. I mean, I'm thinking back at that as well. There was definitely, like, you had to be in the hard modes in some of the early ones to be able to jump into the story modes of the second layer, I think. But I kind of like that progression.
Yeah, particularly from like Dread Fortress, Dread Palace onward, you needed to have gotten to a certain gear to keep moving up. But it used to be that every single one of the operations had a different gear tier as well. So even though they said they were story mode and could all take the intro level, that wasn't universally true.
We do need to, even though she's not here, we should at least mention some of the things that Magic left for us, her input on the topic.
Sure, let's alternate through some bullet points. Go with the first one.
So her highlights of her time in the game, she said the most magical thing that happened near the beginning of the game was when they added the sell trash button. So she really enjoyed the sell trash button.
And quite frankly, on top of that, I loved when they also added into Legacy the cooldown timer for your companion coming back.
Right.
Because the default's a minute, but you can bring that down to 3 seconds. And as soon as they brought that out, it was like, oh yeah, send my companion out to sell trash, and they're back in 3 seconds. I never even have to hit the vendor and do the sell trash,
Yeah.
That's never been a thing for me. I don't care. Do you want me to do the next one, or do you guys want to do the next one?
You sound like you're doing a great job.
Okay. She said she loved also that we no longer have the planetary comms. She did not like having
I forgot about
the drum and comms that she couldn't do anything with.
Yeah, so this is pre-you, Elise, but it used to be that every single planet had its own currency.
Yes.
And it could only be used for gear that was at the level that you were supposed to be while you were on that planet.
That would really just be, okay, I'm going to say it, dumb.
When they collapsed it.
Being that you, get, so, I mean, how many of us, when we go back and level another character and we're on, say, for example, Tython, you're done with that. By the time you finish that, you're level 12. There's nothing. I never buy anything on there. I just use
you could be
drop
level
gear.
17, right? Getting off your starter planets.
I just use whatever drops. I never buy anything on there because why? And then I, move on to the next section.
Well,
that would be dumb.
Changing to planetary commendations was a fantastic move. It's one of the best moves they did. Very good. But then that whole thing kind of went out the window when, with the new gearing system, I'm able to run a heroic and pick up a couple blues off of that. Right? And really running heroics is how I gear my characters through leveling. And it keeps them pretty competitive.
Right. What I do think that they need to go back to the drawing board, though, about is there's a lot of decos and kind of cool stuff at those vendors on the planets that people forget about. I really liked when SWTOR did the whole... the craftable stuff. It would be kind of nice if somebody would go through and pull out the armor that you can get on those planets, but being that you have the, outfit designer, you don't have to, you can use those if you like the look of them. Well, a lot of people, I think, just are familiar with what comes out of the CC stuff and what comes out of the heroic boxes, but there's cool stuff at those vendors too that look neat. And I bet those people who've come in year 3 or less don't really know what those are because
Right.
nobody used them.
Yeah.
When I came in, you got your shells, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got mine at that vendor, the level 7 vendor on the fleet. And then I just started putting the, the armorings and stuff in them. That's how I geared.
Upgrade your armorings. I used to do that every 6 levels or so. I'd upgrade to a brand new set of
That's what I did too. And so I never bought that stuff either, but it would really be cool. And like the companion customizations and stuff, all that stuff is at those vendors too, on those, like, was it 3 planets or something? When you got to the next chapter or whatever, that planet that you should be hitting on that timeline.
Absolutely.
A lot of people, and there's decos and stuff there. Nobody knows about them. Okay, she said she is sad that you can't have epic treak healing anymore.
Tank healing?
Heal
She's the
tank.
same.
Tank healing or
She's
heal
the same
tanking?
as the rest. Heal tanking. She said she's just the same as her other 50 companions, and I can only send 8 at a time.
Yeah, so
And the same
basically-
thing as HK. Similar kind of thing for HK.
Yeah, he used to have an assassinate ability that would insta-kill something. It would literally hit for like 160,000. After you'd killed X amount, you'd build stacks. It was awesome. But it used to be that every single one of the companions was unique. And unfortunately, I mean, unique like as how they interacted. The problem was some were healers and they could only be healers. Like you could turn off their heal abilities, but it would leave with like 1 damage ability and then an auto attack.
Yeah, every companion was locked into a role. So like this was a
Right.
tank or this, and they. I
But how
like
they
that
executed that role was unique for every single one of them. It
Yeah,
was
it's like
really
Shriek
cool.
used to do that whole like hang glider thing. I used to love that.
Oh yeah,
You know?
dive into battle. Yeah, it was- and she would throw the beehive, and you would hear the bees ring.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was awesome. And the other
I have
change
Treek.
that. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I have Treek and I have HK, but I don't use either one of them.
I actually use HK quite a bit because I know they'll never take them away because they have made it publicly stated that if you spent money on them, they won't take them away from you.
Right.
Well, I know, but I mean, but I don't use them because why bother? I don't want to have to level up to 50. How many companions do we have right now? I mean, that's
And
just like
as
that.
soon as you get them there,
That
you lose
makes
them.
me just depressed, just thinking about doing
Oh,
that.
I don't
So
waste my time
I
with any.
pick my favorite one. I level that 1 to 50, and then I'm kind of done. But that has really been a departure from how BioWare does stuff.
Until
when
you
you play
pick
Dragon
Theron.
Age, well, I mean, if you play Dragon Age, you get companions in that one too, and only certain ones can heal. So if you play Dragon Age, it's either Dorian or Solus. Those are the only 2 that heal.
Mm-hmm.
And then Vivian. But, Iron Bull can't heal. He's a DPS. And
What are you talking about?
those are the characters in Dragon Age Inquisition.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So,
I'm like
basically-
Iron Bull.
Don't you,
So,
Redna? You're not
right.
aware of the other class that they rolled out with the last update?
Apparently not.
How could you not know that?
He's gonna
But
be online tonight.
the fact
looking
that they didn't make the companions specific is actually a departure for BioWare.
Yeah.
And the other thing that she doesn't like is the change that she hates that the noob. Oh, the other change that she hates that noobs don't know about is that she can no longer do Ilum dailies. There is now one freaking heroic, and that's it. Thanks, Obama. JK.
So they did remove the Belsavis dailies as well, I think, right? Or like Ilum and Belsavis both disappeared.
Yeah, but I
Did
think
they?
actually there were heroic terminals where you could go and pick things up, and they have which you can still do in Belsavis, and locations where you can still do in Belsavis. But in Ilum, they actually eliminated all except for one, which was the heroic, which was 2-man. Which honestly, that's the other thing. There were a bunch of people that were boohooing that they couldn't do heroic solo when it said H4. You were supposed to have 4 people to do them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But
but
of
That's
course,
one
they-
thing. I'll tell you
They
one thing that I
caved, and
thoroughly
they gave
miss
things over to them. So
is actual
Yeah,
heroic
but-
2s and heroic 4s leveling up. I used to enjoy meeting people. You get a group together to go run some of that stuff, and you'd go run some of those. It was great. I actually
Yeah.
miss those little ad hoc pug groups that you put together to run a heroic on Terrace or something going through there,
Well, coming from a person who started playing this game for the first, 4 months solo, that was really, really, really annoying. I didn't get putting stuff into chat. I didn't get all that stuff. Well, I know, but I mean, I would do the dailies, and if my friend wasn't on, then suddenly I would have to actually type something in chat and ask people in chat for help. I didn't have to do that as a console player. I didn't even know what that was. So, I mean, that was totally a new experience. I didn't like doing it. I don't do it now very often because I don't like doing it still.
Oh, wow. So you actually you were here post level sync as well.
I was here pre-level sync. Mm-hmm.
There was no level sync originally. There was no bolster originally. There was gear actually mattered originally.
We ran KP the night before they made it level synced. 4 of us nightmare so I could get the hat.
Yes, the hat.
It was after a party. It was after the guild party. Me and Mox and JT and I think a couple other people all went and just ran through KP so I could get the hat. It was awesome. So,
well, yeah, and you so at least you got into the game while there were still factions.
Yeah.
But there was no real individual class story to be told outside of what had been around from the beginning. You hadn't have you ever even played through McKeb?
I hate McKeb. No.
I just finished McKeb last night. It's actually really cool.
From my opinion,
I like
McKeb faction storytelling is the best faction storytelling they have in the game. It's remarkably good.
I've done the class stories. I'm not done yet. I saw 3.
Yeah, but there's no class storytelling there. It's just faction.
It narrows down more and more. Once you get to Shadow of Revan, it's pretty much over.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's
over. I mean, I like that one, but what?
Coffee was the nail in the coffin because literally every single other base class was considered dead based off of the storytelling. You are the only person that exists in the galaxy at that stage.
Right.
Which that doesn't bother me because remember I really wasn't. Again, that's that I was only here a little bit, and I did Shadow of Revan on almost every single one of my tunes, and I actually like that storyline.
Right. Which makes sense.
It doesn't bother me any that we go to that, because that's what I probably spent the majority of my end game doing is that. So,
guys,
it's reasonable. And from my perspective, I've done it once, period, frankly, and I haven't even done Kotet yet because it's, for me, as the kind of player that I am, the least interesting aspect content that they've released since.
Is the on-rail story.
Yeah, I don't like on-rail story with no diversity where my class choice doesn't matter. Everything that I've done leading up to it doesn't matter. The complete irrelevance of everything I've ever done really irritates and frustrates me and prevents me from playing. But I should mention I have real-life friends that didn't play until Coffee came out, and they've stayed in the game because this is the exact kind of storytelling they're looking for, and they don't want what came before. They would rather continue to buy level 60 or level 65 tokens and play from there because this is the itch that they've been waiting to scratch.
Wow, so KOTOR 3. Very interesting. Wow. Okay, so can I make a proposal to us? Can we make this part 1 of this discussion, and we'll get Magic Ace in again next week because we still have at least some of your observations getting into the game from when you started. We have mine, we have Redness still to go. So are you guys okay with the idea of making this part 1 and then having part 2 next week?
Yeah.
Of new versus old SWTOR?
I'm okay as long as I'm allowed to say thank you, 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 thank you.
Nice transition.
Everybody that's watching right now, we've been having record numbers, and I love each and every one of you. You're the most awesome possum souls in the Star Wars and Planet Earth galaxy. And we love you so much for participating in the chat room and talking with us and keeping Magic entertained while she's AFK from the show. And I just really want you to know how much we really do genuinely appreciate your contribution just through participation in our polls. Once again, we set another benchmark. Maybe one day we'll even break 2,000. It's donkulous that we got what we did. And it's just so much fun being able to share these thoughts with you guys and to get your feedback. You're really, really great. Which does bring us to the end of the episode. I know, sad panda. But the council is adjourned. If you would like to reach out to us, you can email us at thecouncil@thecouncilswotor.com. You can find Elise on Twitter at abrown35. You can find Magic Ace at @themagicace. You should know how to spell magic by now, but if you're uncertain, it's with a J and a K.
It's on the screen in front of you.
And I'm not joking. It's Redna at R3DN4, and it's Sakari at I am Sakari. If you're watching the video, it's on the screen, and if you're listening, check your show notes. Please don't forget to visit our website, www.thecouncilswotor.com, and follow us on social media at the Twitters and Facebook. Also, don't forget our money page at patreon.com/thecouncilswotor. So that's it for this week, guys. Remember, violence is not the answer.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
I understand.
You are on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of master.
What? How can you do this? This is outrageous. It's unfair. How can you be on the council and not be a master?
Take a seat, young Skywalker.
Forgive me, Master.